Hello. Good evening, everyone. If you're here, I am very glad to have you. I hope you can hear me. Um, Thank you for joining me on. If you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, you're welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight. So tonight, I'm going to talk about something that bothers a lot of people on my network. My network, I mean families with children living with neurodevelopmental delay, especially autism. So if you don't know, Brain Foods is a nutrition outfit that has dedicated itself to cater for children living with neurodevelopmental delay. Autism is our specialty, but that doesn't mean we don't do other things because we are certified nutritionists, trained and, quizzed very well to cater for health of people. But because we saw how difficult it can be to manage children living with autism, everything around them, their therapies. So we decided to dedicate our services to support people living with neurodevelopmental delay, especially autism. Autism has common features like common physiological challenges with other neurodevelopmental delays. And when it comes to nutrition, anybody, after all, can benefit from good nutrition. Nutrition forms the basis of our life. It's the biological substance upon which life is built, aside the soul aspect. The physical aspect thrives basically on organic compounds that are only derived from food that we eat. So nutrition is that important. So tonight, a lot of parents living with children with neurodevelopmental delays are finding out that dairy may not necessarily be very good for their children. Aside allergies, which is very common with them, we have things that we may not want to interfere with their hormones, the enzymes, many of the things that are used in raising the cows that produce this milk. So for this reason, a lot of parents with neurodevelopmental delayed children may want to keep away from dairy. So tonight we want to discuss dairy as it is. We are going to look at the benefits of dairy, and we are going to look at the not so good benefits of dairy. And then we are also going to look at alternatives. When we look at the alternatives, we are going to explore it based on their nutritional values. And why we are doing this is just for you to understand that nature has provided us with a lot of things. And what we do in Brain Foods is that we try to balance this, that if a child cannot eat a certain food for a certain reason, there should be an alternative that can also provide equally good nutrition for such a child. So tonight we are looking at dairy. We are looking at what are known to be the benefits of dairy. Just take note that I'm listing these benefits does not mean I am endorsing it. I'm always a balanced nutritionist in the sense that I am not paranoid about one thing, but I also have my views. I have my strong views. I have my stances on things, especially food. And my stance on dairy is that it may not be a very good food for children living with neurodevelopmental delay. That doesn't mean it doesn't have benefits. And that's why tonight we are going to look at the benefits. So one of the benefits is that it is a very rich source of calcium. That one is undeniable. And if I may just point out here, as we go down the line, we are going to understand that it is not the only thing that can offer us calcium. But one of the benefits is that it is very rich source of calcium. And then where do you get this calcium from? Like from that milk you drink as milk, from the yogurt and the cheese. These are all excellent sources of calcium. And we all, okay, maybe it's not a common knowledge, but it's a common knowledge to me that calcium is very good for maintaining strong bones and teeth. So we all need the strong bones to be able to, go about our daily lives and fend for ourselves. And then there is also the aspect of being a source of protein. The dairy is very high in protein. Yes, it's an animal protein, and not just protein as it is, very high quality protein, because most protein from plants are the ones that are of good quality because they contain all the essential amino acids that our bodies will otherwise not be able to produce by themselves. So dairy is a good source of such protein, and we give it kudos for that. Then minerals and vitamins. So at this point, we see that dairy products, dairy as a product is very rich in minerals and vitamins. We have minerals like we have the vitamins like the vitamin D, which comes in the breast milk of the cow, which is the milk. We have the vitamin B12, which we all know can be very good for mental health. And we also have the phosphorus as the minerals and potassium as the minerals. Don't forget, these are here because the cows actually produce this milk for the purpose of raising its own children. Like the cows need this product to grow and flourish. So these are here. Then aside the vitamins and minerals, when you modify dairy in a way of probably fermentation, you would have things like probiotics. Even before fermentation, probiotics could be there because, yes, we all know that the microbiome content of our being will always be transferred into everything that comes from us. So something like milk that comes from the cow, the microbiome makeup of that milk will definitely be transferred to the milk of the cow. So these beneficial microorganisms is very important in maintaining the gut microbiome of even uh, supposedly the children of the cow, which are the calves, and they also support digestive health. And then there is a proposition that dairy can actually support weight management. This is something that some studies are suggesting. However, during my research this afternoon, a research was conducted to affirm this, and at the long run, they found no significant difference in weight management of children. They used children that are fed milk in the UK. In the UK, children from ages 0 to 7, I guess, are entitled to free school milk. So they took this and they looked at their weight differences, and there was really no significant difference between the weights of children that are drinking the cow milk and those that are not. So, but here, other researches actually suggested that dairy could be good for weight management. And well, this is restricted to low fat dairy. That's if you're buying low fat milk, low fat yogurt, low fat things. Now, those are the benefits of dairy. We are going down to cons of consuming dairy. The cons are like the other side of it, the downside of it. So the first side of it we are looking at is lactose intolerance. Let's say 1 in 10 of children born are prone to having lactose intolerance. They could be just inborn errors of metabolism, whereby a child is unable to digest lactose. It doesn't mean like it's a very huge thing, but the fact remains that this child is not able to break down lactose. And we know that lactose is like the most abundant carbohydrate in milk. So at the end of the day, if a child is not able to digest lactose, it will be difficult for that child to utilize dairy as a source of nutrient as a baby. Or even some adults are still lactose intolerant. It's not the fault of the dairy this time around, but yeah, it's something that you have to consider if you're thinking of using dairy as source of food. Then there is the allergy aspect. A lot of people could be allergic to things that are in dairy. The major aspect of dairy that could trigger the allergy is the casein. Casein is the protein content of milk. So by the time someone is allergic to dairy, to casein, it means the person cannot have dairy as a food, a source of food. So in this aspect, we have looked at lactose intolerance, we have looked at dairy allergies, and there's also the concern about saturated fats. Saturated fats are known to one thing that they are known to do is that they could build up as plaque, and when they are much in your body anyway, they could build up as plaque, and this plaque could block the walls of the arteries and veins, and this action can actually increase blood pressure and contribute to cardiovascular health conditions. So if you're worried about saturated fat, you may want to keep away from dairy because everything in dairy is like saturated fats. Saturated fats are not the healthiest type of fats, if we may say that. And then there is also the issues with hormones and antibiotics. Today, almost is only, forgive me, but it's only in a few African countries that you still see cows roaming the street. They are either in a ranch or they are in caged system where they put them inside a boxed place and be feeding them, they will be cleaning them. And so when these are done, there is also a need to introduce some hormones, some antibiotics to stop them from getting diseases. And then there is hormones, some of them are raised specifically to make milk. So if a cow is raised specifically to make milk, in some instances, there has to be an additional hormone to help it to sustain the milk production as long as it can, and also probably to stop it from getting pregnant. At this point, you would already start making sense that there has to be an introduction of a certain kind of hormone. And sometimes, if they are not being raised for milk, they could be raised for meat, for beef. And in this case, there may be need to add growth hormones. So there could be growth hormones, there could be reproductive hormones, there could be any kind of hormone could be introduced into a cow to be able to target it for what it is aimed for. And in this case, whatever milk that comes from that cow definitely is laced with such hormone. Another very important one is the antibiotics. It's a conventional practice that when animals are being raised, in order not to lose them to diseases and illnesses, the owners are mandated, no, maybe not mandated, are obliged to give them antibiotics to protect them, to protect their health, and also to protect their own investment. In cases like this, the animals are given antibiotics, and these antibiotics definitely will go into the milk of the cow. And when we consume the milk of the cow, we know what that can do to our microbiome. The antibiotics goes in, and then it starts wiping off our own microbiome. In that instance, we are taking antibiotics without our own knowledge. And if you are a mother to a child with neurodevelopmental delay, we all know that the microbiome balancing is a very important aspect of their health. So you may want to, eliminate anything that might introduce unwanted antibiotics into their system. And then we have the environmental impacts. Well, you may say that may not be any of your concern now, but I tell you, what is happening, the world is a global village. Anywhere it is happening is affecting all of us. The environmental impact is that dairy farming have a very significant impact on environment. The amount of, they say that you have to use, like, is it 20 kg of feed and about 70 liters of water to produce 1 kg of meat. These are not very specific figures, but they are that bad. You have to use a lot of resources to be able to produce a cow. And that is even one part. The amount of nitrogen oxide they emit into the air has been identified to be of significant amount. In this case, we see it as a big contributor to greenhouse gas emission and even water pollution. So at the end of the day, we should also consider, even if we are eating today and enjoying ourselves, what is the impact on the environment, and if this impact is something that will also affect even future generations. Now, we have looked at the pros and cons of using dairy as a source of food. We are looking at how then, if you choose to use dairy as food, how then how would you want to do this wisely without compromising your health in the process of looking out for your health? We say that if you are looking for good dairy, you may want to check for dairies that are produced from organic or grass-fed animals. So some of these, I mean, if anybody should go through that process of feeding their animals with only grass, naturally raising them, they should be willing to offer that to you in their labeling. So if you don't see it on a label, just assume that it is, you know, raised the conventional way. And then the one that is very interesting to us is considering an alternative. Would you want to consider an alternative to dairy? Yes, I think you should, or you could, if that is your choice. I believe a lot in people having to make their own choices. But what I'm here to do is to show you this is what can happen if you go this way, and this is what can happen if you go this way. But at the end of the day, it's your choice to make. So if you feel that you may not be able to handle dairy well, it's advised that you may want to seek for an alternative. You may also want to seek this alternative because you have intolerance, or because you have allergies. So you have alternatives like almond milk, soy milk, and coconut. Also, even if you have to be there, you should consider, looking at your portion size. Because they say dairy is good, you don't just go drinking 1 gallon at a go. No, it's not done. In food, there is always a space for moderation. Moderation is always a thing. Another thing you may consider is to monitor other foods you are eating. Try to balance things. They say too much of everything is bad, even when that thing is good. You don't overdo it. So if you're looking at having dairy as a food source, you may want to add like vegetables, like fruits, like cereals, like, balance things. Organize yourself in a way that you have variety. We always preach variety in nutrition. But there is an important aspect that a lot of people may not know how to do, which is listening to your body. You have to listen to your body. A lot of people may not know that maybe in the morning at the office, they may be feeling, uncomfortable, and They'll just leave it. Maybe I didn't sleep well last night. No, when you are not feeling so well, personally, I will first of all consider the things I ate. So if you have pulled out the things you ate, you can also look at the environment. If you have pulled out the environment, these are just ways you can help yourself to trace back to whatever might be wrong with your body. But first of all, you have to learn to listen to your body. Listening to your body is a skill that a lot of people may not have. So at the end of the day, listening to your body is something that one has to do. And if you realize that taking dairy is not flowing well with your body, you may consider quitting it. Now, we will look at all these alternatives that we spoke about. This is where it gets well. Like, a lot of parents I work with, when you say, would you consider removing dairy from their food? What do you think? They say, oh, no, 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 no. I don't know what else I will give when I remove dairy. Now, thankfully, the alternatives are everywhere. If you go to shops, if you go to, it doesn't matter, like anywhere. You could even actually buy it on traffic if you're in Nigeria. And you ask me, the traffic, what can you buy on traffic? You can buy um what's the name again? Tiger nut milk. You can buy tiger nut milk on the traffic. So if you don't know today, know it that tiger nut milk can serve as an alternative to dairy. But there are other ones. We also have the almond milk. This may be like on the expensive side, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So, but what I want us to look closely at is the nutritional profile of these products. We know that dairy is purported to be like alpha and omega when it comes to calcium. But today we are looking at almond milk. Almond milk has 20 to 45% daily value of your calcium. That is, if you have a cup of well prepared almond milk. So if you can, normally this is up to 25% higher. If you get the pack of an almond milk, this is like 25% higher than milk, than dairy. So tell me, if you still have opportunity of having almond milk, you may not be missing much from dairy. So you can consider having this as an alternative. It has 7 to 8 grams of carbohydrates and it has 1 to 2 grams of protein. That may not be as high as milk, but it's something. And remember, it is not a complete protein like the dairy could be. Then we have the soy milk. The soy milk has 30 to 45 daily value of calcium too. Soy is the only plant that comes as close as having up to 8 essential amino acids. But for my community, like I keep saying, I don't recommend soy because it's estrogenic. It could how do you say it? It can raise the estrogen level of individuals. And you and I know that children on the spectrum especially wouldn't want anything else that will destabilize their hormones. You want as calm hormone as possible because their body is already showing you that things are happening, that there is a storm going on inside, and you don't want to aggravate that storm by touching hormones, enzymes, or neurotransmitters. Three of these things, we want to keep them as calm as possible within their body. So I don't recommend soy milk. That is just me. You may want to explore it. There's also coconut milk. We have the coconut drink and we have the coconut yogurt. The coconut, I tell you, is something you can just whip the coconut in your blender, pour it in a sieve and get a drink. But fortunately, there are also coconut milk in the shops which you can pick up from the shelf and use in place of dairy. So this is something that you would want to, if for one reason or the other you don't want to get into dairy. Coconut milk, almond milk, soy milk, I won't be calling that again. Then there is oat milk. Oat is known to be very rich in fiber, but when it comes in milk, we have up to 25 to 35% daily value of calcium from oat. What I'm trying to point out here is that all of this milk have at least a good um calcium content that would encourage you to remember that each time you are having it, you may not be totally missing out on calcium for proper bone and teeth development of your children. And then we also have cashew. This may not be very popular because aside being very expensive, it's not like it's not readily available. So some people can make it into cheese, some people can make it into bars, some people can take it as nuts, some people can make it into milk. But the calcium level of this one, it can be low. We have just like 4 to 8% daily value, which is not so good as much as we have in things like almond and coconut. So you may just consider this as nuts that you could take for other reasons than for calcium. But we have up to 70 to 90 kilocalories of energy and 5 to 8 grams of fat. Looking at hemp milk. Hemp is basically known for its high content of vitamin E and then omega-3. A lot of people have already known and witnessed the good impacts of hemp on mental health, especially for children with neurodevelopmental delay. So in hemp, you have up to 30% daily value of calcium, which is good if you ask me. So at the end of the day, if you use hemp as a source of milk, you won't be missing so much on calcium content. And it has a good amount of omega-3, but just like processing can affect it. Yeah, each brand has its own way it processes its own, and then this processing can affect the amount of calcium, amount of what do we say, amount of omega-3 that it has. And then there is pea protein milk. Pea protein is kind of protein extracted from pea. And the good thing is that the protein content is considerably good. We have 8 to 10 grams of protein per cup of a pea protein milk. If you ask me, that is good. And the good thing, you're still not missing out on calcium. You have 30 to 45% calcium daily value. Excuse me. You have 30 to 45% daily value of calcium in it. Now, looking at the vitamin D content, it also varies according to brand. But the good thing is that it has good amount of protein and it doesn't have fat. So if you're looking at reducing your fat, this is even a better alternative. You also have the rice milk. Rice is coming up like seriously as a source of milk. A lot of brands are producing rice milk and the popularity is increasing. People are getting to use it. I'm always like, okay, I can't have carbohydrate and be using it to eat carbohydrate. That's just my reservation about rice and oats as source of milk. But at the end of the day, we can already see that rice milk is also not lagging behind in terms of calcium content. We have we have 30 to 45% daily value of calcium in rice milk. So you are not also missing out. It's also a very good source of calcium. And you have protein, none. It doesn't have protein. Sorry about that. And then you still have 27 to 30 grams of carbohydrates. That's a lot. Now we have looked at all of these milk alternatives. If you ask me, I would say it takes a sense of variety to actually determine. Okay, assuming you say you want to use rice milk, for instance, you know you are missing out on protein. If you say you take almond, for instance, you'll be missing out on other components that are in rice. So in nutrition, we are also asking, try and always make a variety. Make your food, make like variety is the spice of it. Try to eat alternatively. Eat this, eat that, eat this, eat that. Don't just stick to one thing, one every night beans and yam, or every night rice and beans, or every night eba soup. So the gist is create that variety, eat this, eat that. They say little of this and little of that maketh a man. At the end of the day, we have looked at the pros of eating dairy, which included protein content, calcium content, you know, being very nutritious and all of that. Actually, I'm not very interested. And then we looked at cons of eating dairy, which included allergy to things like casein, which included hormones and antibiotics, which included um, how do we say it? Hormones, antibiotics, allergy, lactose intolerance. These are the cons of eating dairy. And we also looked at dairy alternatives. We saw the almond, we saw the milk, we saw the oat, we saw the pea protein, we saw the coconut, and if you are in Nigeria, you know about the tiger nut. A lot of these things, you can use them as alternatives to dairy. So you cannot say because you are not taking dairy, you don't know what to give your child, or your child is missing out on nutrients. We have looked at these nutrients and we have found out how they are. If you want to read them in full, we have it in our description, and you can also hit our blog. We have our blog where you can go and read up everything that has to do with what we just discussed this night. I am very happy to have been able to talk with you. We looked at important consideration also. We looked at fortification. When you are buying dairy alternatives, you may want to look at what and what are fortified. Like you may want to buy rice now, and then knowing that it doesn't have certain vitamins, the company may want to fortify it with some vitamins. Some companies fortify with vitamin E, vitamin C. We know that vitamin C can act as a preservative. So companies may choose you to use it to achieve two things: to use it as a preservative and fortify their product. So this now brings us to the aspect of learning to read your label. You don't just walk into a shop if it's not something you've been buying before. If you go into a shop to shop for food that you eat and your family eat, spend some time and read what is on the label. Most days, I mean most times, the things you complain about them are actually written on it, but you won't read. So you'll be like, this thing, I don't understand. How can they be but they showed you, if you read the label, you will see that they actually told you that this food is processed in a factory that processes so 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 and so. Or they will tell you, if you have so 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 and so, don't eat so 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 and so. So but at the end of the day, many parents, they don't really care about what is written. All they know is, oh, this is fancy. Sometimes it's package that parents buy, sometimes it's name, sometimes it's status. They just buy because it's very expensive. So but you should learn to read label if you're a parent, especially if you're a parent managing a child with neurodevelopmental delays. Learn to read your labels. It can save you a lot of stress, because you may be buying what you shouldn't buy, or you may be leaving what you should buy. Learn to read your labels. We also look at, you have to consider allergies. We already said that before. And you also have to consider sugar content. Something like rice milk, for instance, it may have loads and loads of sugar. We saw the amount of carbohydrate that's in it, and it doesn't have any protein. So things like this you have to consider. So you cannot say, I am keeping my child off sugar, and you go and give him rice milk. It doesn't make sense. You are literally bumping him with sugar. So I have many instances where parents will tell me, oh, we have stopped eating anything sugar. And then you say, okay, can you tell me the typical food? My son just likes eating rice. There's an experiment that was done, and a cup of rice has almost 5 cubes of sugar in it. Like, that is the amount of sugar that is in a cup of rice. So if you think you are keeping away from certain food, it's important that you also know what is in the one you are using to complement it. And that is why we are here. At Brain Foods, we look at your food, we look at what you need, we look at what you have to remove, but with a target to make sure that you are getting the best for growth, for development, for nourishment, for sustenance. We are there to use our versatile food knowledge to make sure that even if you are removing a food, we have something that would provide that alternative nutrition that your body needs to grow and thrive. Don't forget, because they are children, we are always very, very, you know, careful about providing them the good uh, amount and variety of nutrition they need to grow. So thank you so much for joining me on this. I would want to, like, if you know it, I do this every fortnight. So I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks, we will come again to discuss another topic. You can always get this recording on our YouTube channel. Go to lives, and that is where you will see it loud and clear. You can get it on our YouTube channel. You can get the write-up on our blog post. You can reach us anytime, any day. We are here to listen and support. Thank you so much, and have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.